Well, good afternoon. This is Pastor Tad, and it's time for another update. I got some notes here, so I won't forget, but I want you to watch this update. We are thankful for how the Lord is watching over all of us. This is not going to be a long video. I'm going to get right to the point, but obviously we are talking about issues that are going on around us in every area of life, and it's about the COVID virus, and we're praying for one another. We're praying for our community. And so let's get right to the point. We're praying for some people in our church. Thank you for watching this. And I want you to keep some people in your prayer list. Pray for Steve and Carol Culp, and pray for them if you would, please. They are getting over the virus. And I talked to Miss Carol a few minutes ago on the phone, and we're thankful that they're still have a little bit of the symptoms, but they're getting beyond it. We thank the Lord for that. And of course, we're praying for the King family, Bill and Susie King. We're thankful that they're getting beyond that. For some of them, it was not much more than a cold, and some of them did not even have any of the symptoms. We're thankful for that. And I think they're done, actually, with their 14 days of quarantine. And so, again, we move beyond that, and we love one another, and we encourage one another. Pray for Miss Lori Dyson, Mike and Lori Dyson. And Lori has tested positive. You probably saw that on Facebook. We're praying for Miss Lori. We're praying for her fever. She's home. And Mike is having some of the symptoms. So pray for Mike and Lori if you would, please. And we're keeping these folks in prayer. Anything you can do to encourage them, that would be a blessing. And pray for Miss Mary Brown if you would, please. Miss Mary was Joe and Mary. Joe took Mary temporarily to the Aiken Hospital, and she's home now, but she's fighting some of the symptoms and dealing with that. And so pray for her with the fever and some of the pain level. And so pray for Mary Brown, if you would, please, tested positive. And so these are folks that we're dealing with in our own church family. But I want to bring you up to date with this. We're trying to keep up to date with all the communication, and it's all around us. It's in our community. The virus is real. There's no question about that. So we're praying. For some people, the symptoms that they have are maybe more severe than others. For other people, the symptoms are really next to nothing or like a cold. And so, yes, people have gotten sick. People have gotten the virus. It's in our community. It's in all walks of life. I want to remind you, though, let's make sure we just look at this, hopefully with some wisdom and with a level head, if I can say it that way. It's not a death sentence. Yes, there has been death in the United States and around the world, but with what people are getting today, it doesn't seem to be a death sentence. People are getting it. They're dealing with the symptoms, if they have the symptoms at all, and then getting over that, and Lord willing, they're going beyond that. And so keep that in mind, if you would, please. And yes, there are a few members of our church family who've had to deal with it. I think we're fooling ourselves. And if we think that with the size of our church family that no one in our church family is going to deal with it, we're dealing with it in every walk of life. But please keep this in mind. No one has stepped, as far as we know, no one has stepped foot on our church property who has tested positive with the COVID virus. There have been people who have been here, and then after they've been here for whatever reason, maybe because of a family member or a work situation or whatever, then they have come down with symptoms, and then yes, some have tested positive. But after having tested positive, there's been no one, as far as we know, that has stepped foot on our church property. And make sure you understand that. People in the community, we don't want people in the community to think that there's an outbreak at Lakeside Baptist Church. There is not an outbreak at Lakeside Baptist Church, no more than there is in any walk of life in the CSRA. And they've even had to shut the banks. Some of the banks have shut down because of it. Some of the stores have had to deal with this. Chick-fil-A has had to deal with this. Even the Wilds, we got word today, the Wilds camp where our kids were at last week, they've made the decision today to shut down for the entire summer now that they've had camp for 3 weeks. Everybody's having to deal with this. There's nothing unique that's going on with Lakeside Baptist Church. We love one another. We're concerned for one another. We're praying for one another. But let's not overreact. I want to make sure you understand this. No pastor of Lakeside, no staff member of Lakeside, no pastor's wife of Lakeside, no office personnel, secretaries, none of it. There's no one in the paid staff, pastors or whatever, of Lakeside Baptist Church that has had the symptoms or tested positive for the virus. I want you to know that. I thank the Lord for that. Now, pastors in other places certainly have gotten the virus. But we're thankful to this point. Now, I could get it tomorrow. I realize that. But to this point, no leadership, no paid staff, pastors, whatever, and our families, none have had the symptoms or tested positive for the virus. So thank the Lord for that. And any of our folks who have tested positive could have gotten this from anywhere. We understand that. And there's so many more people that are being tested now. Obviously, people are going to test positive at some level. I personally feel like that at some level we all may eventually have to deal with it, or maybe before this became the worldwide news, maybe some of us have already had it. I don't know. I'm not the medical person. I'm not involved in the medical field. But, there's all kind of thoughts about it. I believe that we've handled this the correct way. I believe our people who have eventually tested positive have handled it the right way. They've quarantined themselves. They've not come back to church until their time has passed for the quarantine. And so I believe people have handled it the right way. Listen, again, there is no outbreak at Lakeside Baptist Church, no more than there is anywhere else in our community. And so I just can't send out a video every time somebody has the sniffles or the symptoms, and we're just simply trying to keep you up to date, and you understand that. I think at some level, and I'm trying to be brief here as much as possible, and thank you for watching. I think at some level we just have to assume that no matter who we're talking to at church or at the store, in the community, no matter where we're at, we just have to assume that the person we're talking to could give us the virus. I think that's almost, we have to assume that. That's why we're pushing and promoting, like everywhere else, social distancing. So please keep that in mind. It's everywhere. You read the articles. It's not anything unique. And so we're trying to be safe here. And some people need to stay home. We've said that from day one. And if there are underlying issues or immune system issues, yes, that's why we have our services online, and we encourage you and anybody in your household to stay home, especially if there's a quarantine issue. The quarantine is not for everybody to stay home. That's not quarantine. It's for the ones who are dealing with the issues or in the household of somebody dealing with the virus. So we're trying to promote that. I believe we've tried to handle this. We've taken measures from day one. We took measures. We went online only for well over a month. We had a service out here in our cars. We've dealt with it. We had church for over a month or about that in a tent outside. And so for a period of time, we had tape on the pews. We've not had nursery. We've not had our children's meetings. We've not had Sunday school. We've taken measures. We've tried to make wise decisions. We are presently having 2 identical morning services. We are trying to be safe. We have signs up. We're trying to promote social distancing. We're not passing out offering plate. You know that. I'm just telling you, there shouldn't be a thought process that we're not trying to be proactive. We've been very proactive in trying to alter whatever we need to alter. But still, our thoughts are, this COVID virus is not going to stop us. And, we have to be wise. You have to make choices. We have to make choices. And at some level, we all may get it, we all may not get it, or maybe we've already had it, but we have to go on, and we have to trust the Lord, and we have to pray for one another. If the decision for you and your family is to stay home, well, then you have to face that decision, and we have the online services, and we want you to enjoy that. Nobody's twisting anybody's arm, but for those who feel comfortable in coming, we will be here, Lord willing, tomorrow. 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, identical services. 5 o'clock tomorrow night. Yes, 5 o'clock tomorrow night. Keep those things in mind, if you will, please. And we're going out to the stores. We're going out other places. Some of us are going out to restaurants. And most people should still be able to come to church. But if there's a question, if there's a concern, then that's why we have our services online, and we want you to enjoy that. No one here, there's no outbreak. We've not been careless, and we've tried to be responsible from day one. I wanted you to have this update. I wanted you to know that. I wanted you to know that we're praying for people. But when this is all over with, then we can't treat anybody any differently than before. We embrace one another. We love one another. But right now, obviously, we're social distancing. We're trying to be safe. We're trying to be wise. You know that. So we go on, and we serve the Lord, and we deal with what we have to deal with. And I wanted you to have this information. We're going to pray. For those of us who feel comfortable, we're going to come. If anybody has any kind of symptoms or test positive or anything, the entire household needs to stay home. That's for the good of everybody else. But other than that, we trust you can be here, and we're going to enjoy the presence of the Lord. We're going to preach, we're going to pray, and we're going to serve the Lord. We go on, and we're excited about the future. We just have these things we're dealing with, but day by day, we're going to trust the Lord. We love you. If we can be of any kind of encouragement to you, we want to be. Lord willing, we'll be here in the morning. You can watch online or be here. God bless you. We trust that you have a great evening. I know it's long, but I tried. How long?